3, 2, and 1. Welcome to Global Chamber San Antonio and Global Chamber. Today we have a very special webinar, and we call it a Globinar. I want to welcome today Teclo Garcia. He is the Executive Development Director in the city of Laredo, and Dr. Rodney H. Rodriguez, who will be our moderator. I'm also so glad to have with us our chairwoman, Dr. Crystal Nerio, and our chair-elect, Jorge Canavati. And today we're just so pleased that we're able to provide a discussion on the future of regional industrial development and international trade. And so before we get started, I want to give a quick overview of the Global Chamber so that our audience is aware of what we do. I want to thank our Global Chamber board and staff who've worked with us over the years. We are global and unstoppable. What I love about Global Chamber is that we are a chamber that's focusing on helping businesses, companies to grow across the world. We have the vision of being in 525 metropolitan markets in over 195 countries. And when we are not in the COVID-19 scenario, we do meet with our international visitors that come to San Antonio or as we travel within the region. Again, Global Chamber, 525 metros, global reach, contacts, access, exposure, information, and then what we want to do is we want to welcome you into our global tribe. Our founder is Doug Brunke. He is the taller gentleman in the picture. Again, he came up with the vision that would help businesses to grow by working with the world's largest metropolitan markets. What I love about it is we have the reach based off of artificial intelligence to 40 million people and more. And so when you look at why you should be part of Global Chamber, it's very simple. If you want to take your business, around the world, then come on board with a platform that will enable you to connect with people from around the world. The member benefits are very simple. We provide strategic connections to customers and partners. We give you the VIP experience with Globinars and information that you need to grow your business and to grow the capacity of your business. The members receive free attendance at most events. For those who are guests of us today, if you simply had a membership, you would have been able to come in for free. We also will point you to our website at globalchamber.org so you can actually read on all the benefits. We have probably the most intense calendar of events, and what I mean by that is that the Global Chamber shares one calendar. So we have events that start at all different time zones around the world, and you can plug into it by simply signing up for the events as a member. Again, we enjoy meeting people from all parts of the world. That happened to be me as executive director with a delegation from the Middle East. I've also met with a delegation from Russia. And this is a great slide. It shows our chairwoman, Dr. Nerio, up top left, and then to the right, our chair-elect, Jorge Canavati. And again, these two business leaders, you'll hear from them throughout our Globinar today. Again, we're asking you to get to know us. We want to know you. All right, with that being said, I want to turn it over to Dr. Rodney Rodriguez. Dr. Rodriguez and myself, we've been great buds for a while. Actually, in the city of Laredo, I was presented with the Impact Award, and Dr.
Yes,
Rodriguez at the time was with the Laredo College, and
right.
he was also overseeing some of the economic development in the region. And so after the award, I was like, I need that guy to be on my team. And so I'm so glad that Dr. Rodriguez was able to pull together this webinar with Teclo Garcia. Take it away, Rodney. Dr. Rodriguez.
Thank you. Yes, thank you, Chris. And thank you, everyone. It's such a pleasure to be with you this morning. Happy Friday. I know this is going to be a great discussion. And of course, as Chris was mentioning, Laredo is near and dear to my heart. A year ago, I was fortunate enough to accept a really good opportunity with Community Foundations of Texas, Educate Texas, and the RGV Focus Initiative here in the Rio Grande Valley. And I think it was around that time, Teclo, if I'm not mistaken, you decided to start a great opportunity in Laredo as Economic Development Director for the city of Laredo.
No, that's correct. The very same weekend. You started in McAllen. I left McAllen to start in Laredo. So,
there you go.
Yeah.
So we got 1 for 1, right? So I think maybe Laredo got the better deal of it, don't you think? Well, you know.
I don't think so.
Well, we're very, very happy to have you join us today for our panel discussion. You know, the work that we've been doing across the US-Mexico border has been phenomenal. Even before, when I was with Laredo College through the Economic Development Center, Teclo was with the Center for Education and Economic Development in Mission, and we partnered in a lot of strategic efforts for industry-recognized certifications for the region. And since then, we've been pretty non-stoppable. We've been working on a lot of initiatives, and it's just great, Teclo, to see your evolvement in 1 year with the city of Laredo and all the great things you're doing in that region.
Well, thank you, Rodney. I really appreciate the kind words and certainly giving it my all here. Before I jump into the international trade and some of the things you want to talk about, let me just thank Chris again for and you for inviting me. Doctor, thank you also for having me. Jorge, thank you for allowing me to be part of this webinar and reach certain a great audience here. So I really appreciate the opportunity. Thank you again.
Wonderful. Well, you know, we're being joined by countless individuals around the state, not to mention the nation. And so we're very appreciative of everyone's time today. So with that, we will get started. And I'll go ahead and start with the first question. So we know that Laredo has been the hub of international trade for decades. And I believe it is still third as a crossing import-export region. New York, I believe it is Los Angeles and New York and Laredo. But can you let us know, in the context of trade and business development, where is Laredo and how does it compare in Texas and across the country?
Yeah, as you can see behind me here, that photo can add to the little bit of context. We're crossing about 14 to 16,000 trucks per day over the Rio Grande, including additionally about 30 to 35 trains a day, right? And then we have about 30 to 35 cargo flights a day that leave our airport to destinations mainly around the U.S., but also to a few other foreign countries. But Laredo, right now here in Texas, we're obviously the trade leader. Laredo does more trade than all the other land ports along the border combined. From here all the way to Santa Teresa, we're just in New Mexico, which is part of the El Paso metro area. We do and last year we did $70 billion more in trade than the Port of Houston through the Port of Laredo in terms of valuation, right? The Texas Comptroller, says that we are affecting about 500,000 jobs in Texas, and we do about $72 billion in GDP because of the port, where we're generating that much, economic energy, if you will. So we are there statistic-wise Where we are is as a port is, we lead in trade with Mexico in regards to especially auto parts, auto content, seats, engines, transmissions, you name it. We lead the country in that, mainly because of Mexico's auto manufacturing industry that's close by in Monterrey and also in central Mexico. We also, I think in 2019, we surpassed, at least for a few months, Japan. For more new cars were being imported from Mexico to the U.S. than from Japan, and those cars they all come through Laredo. So mainly on trains. So that's kind of to give people a context of where we are. In terms of business development, we have a long ways to go. There's a lot of opportunity still here. Our warehousing and distribution centers are growing tremendously. We've added 6 million or about 5+ million square feet in the last 3 years. And about 113 million of that just this year alone through 9 months or through 8 months. So it's we're doing quite a bit, Rodney, and it's amazing sometimes when people come to see me about a certain issue or opportunity that they do not know what's happening in Laredo, and I'm glad to talk about it.
Yeah, well, Teclo, you just hit on something that I'm personally very passionate about, and I know that a lot of our viewers are as well. As you well know, the Rio Grande Valley is really, really unique. And when I say Rio Grande Valley, I'm talking about the U.S.-Mexico border, right? Mm-hmm. So encompassing everywhere from El Paso all the way down to Brownsville. And one of the things that we talk about with international trade is jobs, right? Workforce development. How does that impact the cities? How does that prepare our students to enter these careers into international trade and business development? How has that really impacted Laredo and the region, in your opinion?
Well, as you know, like many other border cities or cities in Texas for that matter, we're challenged on the education side and workforce training. We're only graduating about, at high school graduation rate is about 70%. Now, a silver lining in that is that for people under 35, the graduation rate here in Laredo is about 86%. So we know we're doing better as students are coming through, but we're still challenged. One of the things that we're focusing on, really two things we're focusing on straight ahead is skills training, right? And obviously we're working through Laredo College on that. And then we're also really working with the private sector to raise the rate of pay. We're working really hard, and it's a dance. I mean, especially when companies are coming to the city looking for to participate in our economic incentives program. It's hard for us to dictate to them, wages, but we really do need to raise our wages. So we work really close hand in hand with our private sector to try to, make sure that the jobs that at least are requiring some public funding, are lifted to a better wage for people to, be able to pay rent or buy a house. But it all starts with education, and we're trying to preach that, and we've already had the beginnings of putting together a program that would better funnel there's pieces of it there, but to better funnel students into careers that are in high demand in Laredo that also pay well.
Right. Yeah. I mean, education landing to a career, right? Because we want it to be a good paying career. So thank you for that. But let's talk about the economics, right? Economics of what Laredo has seen, what the economics have or are going, right? So when we talk about economics, what in your opinion are the best economic assets of Laredo, and how are they being developed? Okay,
good question. So let me back up a second and I mentioned the bridge behind me here. Just to let you know, I mean, obviously Laredo is a trade center. That's why we're talking today. So Laredo, as you mentioned, it is sometimes the country's leader in international trade. We compete with the Port of Los Angeles and the Port of New York area, and the Miamis and the Houstons of the world, right? But we've come a long way, in the last 10 years. Laredo also has four bridges like the one you see behind me. 2 are dedicated to commercial traffic. 2 or more for passenger buses and regular traffic. We have 1 rail bridge as well, with another one on the way. And I mentioned our airport. That serves as the sort of the undergirding, for all that we do here. International trade employs about 1/3 of Laredoans. Another third is government, not including schools. But a big chunk of that government is the federal services. We can't do what we do here without, a very, very robust Customs and Border Protection Service. The customs guys are great on our bridges. They do a wonderful job every day. But we have gone and in the last 10 years, from 2010 to 2019, we've added about 18,000 new jobs during that time, right? We've grown at a 17% clip. Our unemployment dropped pre-COVID almost 5 percentage points, 5% rather, not percentage, but 5%. Our total trade was up 85% during that 9-year period. So we almost doubled, our trade during that time. Now, it's not just because Laredo is working it. I mean, some of those are economic factors out of our control. It's the private sector that's building in Mexico, auto trade, large appliances, fuels, all kind of things that happen. All those things together have put Laredo on the map, if you will. But we've had really good leadership, great leadership here the last several years that recognize this. I know Mayor Saenz is a big proponent of mobility and transportation. Our new city manager, Robert Eads, is definitely very supportive, and all of them have, since I've been here, everyone on the council and so forth has said, hey, look, we want you to do this. Just go do it. We want Laredo at the top of the heap here, and do what you can to get us there. So we're trying to accommodate. Our bridge folks obviously know what they're doing. Yvette Limon and her team, as you can see here. I mean, we've got things like weight in motion that it's hard to even explain here, but trucks are passing through without having to stop to pay tolls or get weighed, because we have mechanisms that weigh them as they drive by. And then they have little RDF stickers that allow them to move faster. So it's hard to accommodate 14,000 trucks a day, but it's happening.
So I know that Laredo licensed U.S. Custom Brokers Associations and also the associations of Laredo forwarding agents have been critical for the region.
Yes.
And what we've been hearing also, and you mentioned it, is the impact of COVID, right? That has impacted the region as well. Have you seen a really big increase that has affected or impacted the Laredo region due to COVID?
Well, certainly on our retail side, that has been impacted, probably like most cities across the state. But in Laredo, like McAllen or El Paso, we count a lot on our friends from Mexico to shop in Laredo and vice versa. So we've probably lost anywhere from 10 to 20%, depending on what month it was, of our retail sales traffic because of COVID. Small businesses have been impacted quite a bit. We've lost a lot of them. Even some chain places that have closed, because of COVID. On the commercial side, industrial and international trade, that has not been impacted very much. Number one, they were considered an essential, industry, essential workers, so they kept working. When Mexico's auto industry shut down for about a month, that really hit us fairly hard. Now they did come back, and most of them are near 100% back, the factories in Mexico. But overall, for the year, our international trade was down only 6% in terms of traffic. I think I forget the trade number, maybe it's 7 or 8%, but traffic-wise, the number of trucks crossing for the fiscal year was down 6%.
Wow.
And so things are still moving, and just how funny things happen during or because of COVID. Consumers have behaved differently. I know we had runs on toilet paper and water and other things that are just not nonsensical, but they did. But one thing that has kind of changed and to the for the benefit of Port Laredo is that people are buying so much more fresh and frozen veggies.
Wow.
And so one of the things that we've done here is we've gone just in the last couple of years from moving about $1 billion to $2 billion in produce to more than $4 billion in produce through the Port of Laredo. And
incredible.
Yeah, so we are we're probably the third busiest produce port in the country, and we've got some major investments happening in Laredo for more produce distribution centers and manufacturing facilities, as they call them. And so we've probably got about $80 million of produce investments on the way from a huge avocado distribution center to a Canadian firm that's going to move peppers and cucumbers. But every one of them tell me that they're only responding to their clients' demands, and those clients are responding to consumer demand. And so that's good news for the country and definitely good news for us.
Well, I'm going to ask our Madam Co-Chair to see if she has any insight or any questions for you at this time.
Thank you. Pleasure meeting you, Teclo. You touched a little bit about the impacts that it's had on the trade, considering where Laredo is located. We had the pleasure of going there last, I guess, was it 2 years ago, Dr. Rodriguez? Chris and I had the pleasure of going out there, and Dr. Rodriguez gave us the full red carpet tour, and it was so beautiful down there, from the food to the culture and just the hospitality. And as you mentioned earlier, considering the strategic location of Laredo and the impact that it had on, what would you say in regards to the trade and the manufacturing corridor that it anchors because of its location?
Oh man, yeah, Laredo has been blessed by location. I think that's why it was founded to begin with. Between on the Royal Road between San Antonio and Mexico City, but we are in a very unique location between the Monterrey and Saltillo area. That's a manufacturing powerhouse, and San Antonio and Austin and DFW on 35. So we're definitely the beneficiary of that, corridor. San Antonio in recent years has really taken off in terms of manufacturing, especially in the auto and truck industry, the Navistar plant that they have, and then also Toyota and then their expansions. And then Austin is now getting Tesla, right?
Right.
And 25% of certain models that Tesla has, 25% of those vehicles content are made in Mexico. So they will also be using us as a port of entry to Austin. But we want to work closer with San Antonio on their manufacturing. We already have some of Toyota's subcontractors, if you will, or companies that they work with that produce wire harnessing and other things, and we do value added light manufacturing here in Laredo. So that's been a huge beneficiary for us. We came across a company not too long ago that was moving tomatoes into the U.S. By the way, tomatoes are Laredo's second biggest commodity in terms of produce. We did more than $600 million in tomato imports last year.
Wow.
But what they were doing is, and they were trying to figure it out, but they were moving tomatoes from Mexico to their washing and packing facility in the Midwest, then back to San Antonio to provide them to HEB. And so that's where we kind of stepped in and say, hey, look, maybe we can help you here. Maybe we can, but do this. And I want to, if it's okay, Chris, I'd like to share something from that I have on my PowerPoint just to help answer the question from the doctor here.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Okay, let me do that right now. I'm gonna. Okay, so what you see in front of you here is a map of the United States and a bunch of red lines on it. Those red lines represent how far trucks were able to reach in one day out of the port of Laredo, right? So they've come up through Mexico. Maybe they switched at the border. They picked up, American truckers picked up the goods, and this is how far they went on day one, right? So that's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, maybe 10 or 11 states, right? And then by day 3, this is how far the goods were able to reach on those same vehicles. So some went back and forth up in 35. Some went to Houston. They were in Florida, all the way down to Miami, LA, San Francisco, down, it looks like Manitoba, Canada, definitely Detroit and Ontario, Buffalo, the New York metro area. That was on day 3. Here is day 5, a little bit different, but more extensive. And then, let me see, day 5, and then day 7. So that just goes to show you the reach that that Port Laredo has in terms of the goods that are moved out of here. We've got about 13 Fortune 500 companies working that have significant presence in Laredo. Most of them are transportation related. Union Pacific and KC Southern and Federal Express and UPS and just about anybody you can think of, they're here. In fact, Laredo serves as a gateway portal for FedEx freight. So anything on one side of the country, anything above 150 pounds that has to go into Mexico, freight wise through FedEx, it goes to a brand new 150,000 square foot facility here in Laredo. And FedEx has a major presence here. They've got more than 200 employees. We've got like 3 planes a day, 3 different facilities around the city. So they're very valuable to us, but we're very valuable to them as well, as you can see here.
Wow, extremely impressive.
So it really is impressive. Yeah, that's incredible. I mean, just to see the reach, in a week, right. All over the nation.
And what's funny is that the goods that come through here are really, really diverse. I mean, $2 billion worth of avocados, $200 million worth of gold, $6 billion of fuel or more going south. It's incredible the amount of things like dog food and vehicle parts. I mean, you name it, it's coming through here.
And I'm sure with because of COVID, I mean, obviously you said that there was a decrease with the trade and whatnot, but I would think with Amazon and all these other things, did you see an increase there on that side with the amount of things getting ordered and coming through?
Yes. We have several outfits that do that last mile delivery, as they call it, which is like, the Amazons and the other deliverers of the world.
Right.
Yes, they're busier. There are some challenges in how those companies work with Mexico. So we're trying to work through that. If you're in Mexico and you order something to be delivered to your home through Amazon, there's a challenge there. Right. So we're trying to work with that, but they're definitely busier. We have with companies like XPO also here that do some last mile stuff. But here it's about moving big bulk items and things like that.
Right.
I'd like to bring in Mr. Canavati into the discussion. Mr. Canavati, thank you for joining us today as well. Do you have any insight or any questions you'd like to ask?
You're on mute.
Mr. Canavati, you're on mute. If you can unmute, please.
It's to your benefit that I was on mute. No, thank you very much for having me. It's always a pleasure to be with Chris and Crystal and Dr. Rodney, and of course now my dear friend who I've respected for a long time, Teclo. No,
Thank you.
so it's I was telling Teclo earlier that Laredo has played an important role in my work throughout the years. And well, to that end, we know the importance of the logistics industry in Laredo, which employs about a third of Laredodians, the importance to Texas, the United States. But one thing that we're bringing to light, Declan, and I'd like your opinion on this, is the importance of the region, right? The Texas, the Laredo, and Mexico region to trade in the world, to the world. Okay, as a regional partnership, it is clear to me that this powerhouse that we're talking about today, what is the importance it has, or the potential in the future for the world?
Well, that's a great question, and I think that we're on their way to playing that sort of global role right now as we speak. The Port of Laredo plays a big role for the United States, right? And what a lot of people don't know is that BMW just opened up, German-based BMW just opened up a big manufacturing plant in central Mexico. It uses the Port of Laredo to ship lots of its parts to there. They land in Laredo if they're by plane, or they come here and then using the USMCA or back before that NAFTA rules to move those auto parts to their manufacturing plant in Mexico. And then whether it be batteries or seats or whatever, then the finished product comes back into the US. So we play a big role for manufacturers like that. There's a lot of other things like batteries and lighting that come from Europe. Our second biggest trade partner is France, or pardon me, China, and then France. Now those numbers are small compared to Mexico, but we definitely did about $600 million worth of trade with France last year. 1 month, our biggest trade partner was Sweden. I think earlier this year, we did several $100 million of trade with Finland. So a lot of that stuff doesn't always stop in Laredo, but it certainly serves as a port or a point of movement for them. And so we look forward to trying to develop those points more. And Jorge, I think you know this better than anybody. Northern Mexico is expanding at historic proportions right now, and for manufacturing, there's nearshoring going on as more folks they're not replacing their Asian manufacturing plants, but they're adding more capacity in Mexico. Just as insurance, as we continue to get involved with the trade war with China, Mexico has become more important, and the Mexicans know that, and they're recruiting very heavily. I like to tell a little story that I think I posted on LinkedIn several months ago. Is that everyone knows about Legos. You've either played with them or you've stepped on one, and that hurts like hell.
I remember that story. Oh, yeah.
So Lego has more than doubled its workforce in Monterrey, and more than doubled its capacity and square footage and facilities in Monterrey. And Monterrey is now the manufacturing center for Lego for the Americas, right? But they move their content on trucks through Laredo to their distribution point in Memphis, and then from Memphis it goes out to the Americas, right? So we're happy to accommodate them. I've spoken to Lego, and they're very happy to work with us, and I've offered to help them as in any way we can. So all that's valuable to us. A lot of people don't know that every crossing is $23.75 for us for every big truck, right? So if you can imagine, what that adds up to, in 2019, it was about $70 million for. That's
amazing. Wow.
So yes, we want to play a bigger role. We globally, I think we have a role in the globe and international trade. Even though it's pretty heavily slanted toward Mexico, there's other parts.
I want to bring in Chris to the discussion. But first, I have to say, Chris has been such a great friend, not only through San Antonio, but also the Laredo Valley region. He's always mindful of incorporating the region in everything they do in San Antonio. So Chris, I applaud you and the board and your team for such a great effort in including our region. And with that said, I'm going to go ahead and invite you to see if there's any insider questions you have at this time.
Thank you, Dr. Rodriguez. And you're right. I want to be collaborative in nature. I believe that when we're talking about, as Teclo had mentioned, about the I-35 corridor, I mean, it stretches from Laredo, through San Antonio to Austin. And when I look at, the state of Texas and how well we do from a trade perspective, we have to ensure that we really understand the importance of how each city or metro connects to the other. And so I guess I have a two-part question. One is, I'd like for you, Teclo, just to describe some of the partnerships you may have with the city of San Antonio in trying to develop the region. But the other question, going back to the last point that was made about Mexico is Texas's #1 trade partner. So how has the USMCA and Mexico's growth impacted Laredo? And that's a two-parter. So thank you so much.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I think I can handle it. I was touching on it on a little bit on this with Crystal's question, but I'll answer the second one first, and then if I forget, just remind me what the first one was, and I'll hit that. No, the UMCA has been very important to Laredo. I know as a team, as a group, we really pushed for the ratification of the changes. Really, 95% or so by most experts take. The USMCA remained the same as NAFTA. However, there were some key changes on technology and then production, and then also for some pay rates, especially in regard to manufacturing workers in Mexico and auto content. However, I think just in a general sense, Chris, what's happened is the UMCA has pushed the manufacturing limits. As I mentioned, in auto, up to, I think it's 65% or on how much of a car needs to be manufactured in the NAFTA countries. But what that's also opened the eyes of other manufacturers when they see and understand that Mexico is a good manufacturing partner, and their labor situation is stable, and their production rates are high, right? And so that's why you see Lego doubling the size of their factories, right? Because they're not in auto, but they understand that Mexico's workforce is skilled. They're quick to learn. They produce good products. I mean, BMW is brand is world recognized as super high quality. So is Audi, right? But they're producing their vehicles in Mexico. That's a really big win for Mexico, but it's also a big win for the United States.
Of course.
So these things have really pushed, the USMCA to the forefront, but it's also impacting us in Texas. I was reading like a site selection journal or something like that, and I think it was the county just west of San Antonio, where Hondo and is it Castroville are located, and I can't think of the name of that county right now. But the county judge in there was saying that they're going to try to use San Antonio to bring industry to that county, and then she said, "But our best quality that we have is Laredo. The Laredo bridges are the best thing that we can talk about." And I was like, "Wow, why didn't she tell us that? Maybe we could work together on something, right?"
I think it's Medina County. You're talking about Medina
County.
Right.
And I heard the same thing. Seguin has had a lot of wins lately with Caterpillar and different other global firms have moved to Seguin and opened up shop there. their economic development director said the same thing in a different article, that one of their best things is that they're close to Laredo. So we know that that those partnerships are important. Chris, you mentioned San Antonio. I've reached out to the San Antonio EDF, and they are great. We've spoken about potential partnerships, and they've talked about, hey, this is how we see Laredo in context of the regional economy. And so we know that Toyota has subcontractors here doing stuff for them, and then that material goes to San Antonio. Navistar's big production facility is in Laredo, and our number one most valuable content that we move across the border are new cars. Number two is new trucks, commercial size, and those come from Monterrey and mainly from the Navistar facility. So we're handling that content before it goes to San Antonio. We're going to handle a lot of the parts and tires and seats and transmissions and that kind of thing. So we can help develop the industry in San Antonio through efficiencies at the Port of Laredo. And the more we can work together, maybe we can develop even more jobs here in Laredo, and certainly work together. It's not, it's not really a competitive thing. It's about collaboration.
Thank you. If I may, as I traveled to San Antonio when I was pursuing my doctorate program, as I would travel back to Laredo and I would see the train to my right side and the sun setting, the train going, all you saw were cars in the train.
Yeah, you can see cars in there.
Yeah, through the boxes, and so I always was like, why are they doing that? But now I understand. So thanks for the clarification.
Dr. Rodriguez, I do have a question though.
Sure.
Look, when I was down in Laredo, I was impressed with the George Washington, Martha Washington Festival. Look, in the age of COVID, we have to make sure, Teclo, that this is a virtual thing. Can we make this virtual? And have you ever had any African Americans who have actually won the presentation for being George Washington?
I don't know the history of the George Washington celebration, but I'm going to say there probably has not been any African Americans based on the population rate of African Americans in Laredo.
Well, we surely need for that to change, I'm sure.
All right. I'm sorry.
Sure
that was a sneak question
Yeah.
there, but take it back, Griffin.
No, well, Laredo is one of the, I think, only cities, if I'm not mistaken, right, that celebrates the Washington's birthday celebration. It's one of the largest one in the country. So
yes. And I think this spring, there is a local author who now works at George Washington University, I believe, has written a book that's being published now, and it'll be out in the spring. And I forget the author's name. I apologize. All about the George Washington celebration. By the way, Chris, just for diversity's sake, since I was in the Valley for so long, just throw this in as a quick fact, is that Asian Americans and African Americans in the Valley earn sometimes more than double of what the local population earns in terms of median household income. Asian American households are about at 90,000, and African American households in the Valley are about 80,000, maybe 79 or something like that. And the local population might be in the 30s in terms of household incomes. So
amazing.
people of different diverse groups do well when they move to areas like this.
Well, thank you, Teclo. And I know we kind of already discussed COVID and the impact it's had in the region, and also, the makeup of the billions of dollars of trade that Laredo does with Mexico. And so I appreciate that. So I'm going to go back to Mr. Ganivati and see if there's any closing questions or insights you'd like to share with Teclo.
Oh, I appreciate it. Yes, of course. Question number 8 has been already answered various times during our presentation, so I think we can continue on with some, I appreciate the time for some remarks, but we've spoken a lot about the automotive manufacturing plant, and as Teclo very eloquently mentioned, the plant or plants could be in Mexico, they could be in Texas, but there's always a binational regional impact. It's not about Mexico took our jobs. It's not about Texas took the plant away from Mexico. That does not exist if you have the true regional binational economic development mindset, which we do. If let's say the Toyota plant in Texas, in San Antonio, we have a rail connection out of Monterrey that the company in Monterrey is a manufacturer of the chassis to the plant in Laredo. We have the suppliers in Monterrey, some suppliers in San Antonio and other parts of Mexico. We have air services that have developed air cargo services. The economic impact is pretty intense, not necessarily because of the plant is physically somewhere. And this will bring us to what we say is nearshoring, but that's more of a foreign direct investment. Chinese capital has moved into Mexico to attend the Texas market, the U.S. market, and of course, our gateway is Laredo. Laredo is I like to say that Laredo is the processing center for trade. The trade happens between, let's say, Chicago and Mexico City. That's the trade. But the gateway, the heart, the processing center is Laredo, and that is very, very important. The trade would not happen without the efficiencies, of course. And Teclo and I are going to have this discussion soon. We need more investment, more infrastructure investment. Like we have the second rail bridge coming with the Kansas City Railroad, and more of that process, and more efficiencies in the government inspection just for the flow, because the trade is going to grow. The trade will continue growing post COVID. This is going to pass, and the infrastructure and the inspection services have not kept up. So these are the challenges and the issues that being, famous and efficient and prosperous like Laredo is, have, and we have in San Antonio as well, because it does affect us because of these issues that I just brought to light. What do you think, Teclo?
No, you're exactly right. And I can mention a few things. Right now we have probably $250 million worth of TxDOT improvements happening on our interstates in and around Laredo on I-69 and I-35 that will help, I wouldn't say alleviate traffic, because we're not going to get there. It's good to be busy, right? But it'll help with flow. That's a question we get often from folks who are trying to locate to Laredo and move their industries here is, hey, how fast can I get from here to there? How can I do this? Can I be close to the World Trade Bridge? Can I be close to Colombia, the bridge? And so that would definitely help those hundreds of millions of dollars. And we still need more. You're exactly right, Jorge. There's other things that we can do to better flow goods across the border. And adding that other rail bridge or span will be really good. That's a really big project. We'll start with the bridge, but then maybe we get funding for other things. But that really moved things, and that presidential permit was done very quickly. We have to give a lot of credit.
Which is very unusual.
Very unusual. Hey, and that's how the White House has worked. I don't think anyone can disagree, good or bad. It's been very unusual times. But for the good part, we were able to get that permit, or better yet, KC Southern Railways was able to get that permit, and we're very thankful and appreciative of their hard work to get that done. Now they still have a long way to go before construction is done, but yeah, very important. The mobility in and around Laredo, and just remember, in and around the bridges. I mean, there's neighborhoods, there's schools, there's people moving back and forth. So this is a live, living organism. It's not just a port somewhere in the middle of nowhere.
I agree, and I just brought to mind that Carrier, as an example, one of the many we spoke about. Carrier Air Conditioning has the plant in Monterrey. Their distribution center is here in San Antonio. But again, we wouldn't have these wonderful companies here without the Laredo partnership. There's absolutely no way. It wouldn't happen. The people would not come and invest here. you know, because that's important. The Laredo partnership is important. The infrastructure, the interstate infrastructure here is linked to that. Not only 35, but it's I-10. And you'll see the regional distribution centers that are happening here. Huge.
No,
And go ahead.
I don't know. I was going to mention just real quick for everybody's knowledge is, you know, some of the biggest companies in the United States have humongous presence in the Monterrey area and Saltillo especially. I mean, and these are like companies that are ingrained into the American fabric. Like John Deere has a humongous facility in Monterrey. So
Yes.
many or most of the, especially the smaller implements that they have, lawnmowers and smaller tractors, they're all Mexican made, right? And you look at Caterpillar, they've got facilities in Laredo, in Nuevo Laredo, in Saltillo, appliance makers, TV makers. I mean, they're all there. And so I think in general, the American public either doesn't ask or doesn't know that the role that Mexico manufacturing and then ports like Laredo, definitely not exclusive to us, play a role in the way they consume or buy things. And so it's extremely important that supply chain continues to be worked and then allowed to move goods the way they need to move for their companies. And we've had huge investments from like Milwaukee Tools here recently, from Home Depot, and if you don't think that American products and American companies are very interested in Mexico, just for proof, watch a Mexican League soccer game and look at the sponsorship banners around the stadium. And you tell me who dominates that. They're American companies. Trust me.
Let me make one final remark, and this is, I'll have to explain something. There is something in the ocean industry that is known as short sea shipping. It is very prominent in Europe. And what that is in the aspect of trade is that roll on, roll off ocean vessels that have they're like floating parking lots. Trailers, trucks go on these. Mm-hmm. All right. That's called short sea shipping. And they go short distances on the water connecting countries. As far back as I can remember, there have been at least 12 or 15 efforts, multi-million-dollar efforts of trying to start short sea shipping between, let's say, as an example, Port of Houston and Veracruz, could have been somewhere else more up north, and let's say Tampico, on and on and on and on and on with trailers, mm-hmm. because of the excuse, the border is very congested, we got to bypass. The same excuse on decades. Do you know how many have failed? All of them. Every single one has failed for one reason only: the power and the efficiencies of the border, in this case of Laredo. And that's a fact. These at least 15 or 18 services, I've lived through them, have failed. Wow. Because of to Texas, Mexico, okay? Some more east, west, that's a different story, have all failed because of the efficiencies, the power, the influence, which is the right term to use, of the border of Laredo. And that's a fact. That's a trade fact.
Our World Trade Bridge handles a ton of traffic. I mean that literally, just tons of traffic. Can you imagine they take the brunt of those 14 to 16,000 trucks per day, right? As you can see behind me here. But we have another bridge north of that bridge called the Columbia Bridge, and they're also dedicated to commercial traffic, but there's still a ton of capacity there. We probably only utilize 40% of it. So, and then, we have bridges 1 and 2 downtown, and they're a little bit more congested, but with regular passenger traffic. So we still have room to be even more efficient. And there's talks about building yet another bridge, and that's kind of been stalled for whatever reasons. But yeah, no, there's a lot of efficiency here. Like I said, we owe a lot of that to our leadership here in Laredo, but also to our services. There's never a time where we can't say we need more personnel, federal personnel, on our bridges, but these guys are doing a great job right now.
It's incredible, Teclo, and it's just evident with that picture in your background. It's just incredible how many trucks a day pass through the port. So congratulations.
No,
I'm going to go ahead and go with Crystal. Do you have any final insights or questions for Teclo?
No, I know we're running a little short on time, but I just wanted to say thank you to everybody for being here today. It was really extremely knowledgeable and insightful. Some things I knew and some things I did not know. So I look at tomatoes a little differently now.
Thank you, Crystal. And of course, our gracious host, Chris Herring. Chris, any final comments?
Yes, I will. I'm going to wind this down. I want to thank you so much, Teclo, for providing us some insight to the city of Laredo. Dr. Rodriguez, my man, thank you so much for doing a great job moderating. To both of our chairs, Dr. Crystal Nedio, who helped me to found Global Chamber San Antonio, and we served together on the steering group of Global Chamber Texas. Thank you so much. And then to Jorge Canavati, you heard his spirit. He just recently won an International Leadership Award from the San Antonio Council for International Visitors.
Oh, yeah, congratulations.
Congratulations. Wow.
His leadership is just felt throughout the region. I'm going to close by just saying again this, and I wouldn't do my job well if I didn't talk about the previous activities of our chamber and the upcoming events. We have the San Antonio Economic Development Foundation, who will be talking about the economic strategy driving the success of San Antonio on a global scale. I can't wait. That event's online on globalchamber.org under the event sign up. It's going to be a great informative session. Then we also have from one of our board members, Jane Gonzalez, who's going to actually talk about second stage companies. And second stage companies, and I'm sorry, my slide isn't advancing as fast as I'm talking.
You have an advanced brain.
Absolutely, absolutely. So Jane Gonzalez will be talking about second stage companies. This is a webinar that you don't want to miss. I'm super excited about this because we're talking about how do we help those middle tier companies, not the startups, because there's so many different programs available for startup companies. But what do you do for the company that has $1 million in revenue, that's been around for 10 years, that really is the workhorse of your cities? I want Teclo for you to come back to join us as we give this webinar. And this is going to be throughout the United States, in which we're really going to have this discussion and our international community. Again, I applaud what we're doing with Global Chamber. Here are the contacts to our chairs. And just to let you know, our chamber practices diversity and inclusion. I recently had a conversation about Africa with my deputy director, who is Joel Ingaloo from Congo. We've had book authors to talk about the various things in which they've wrote that has been inspiring. Our mayor of San Antonio here in San Antonio gave us the International State of the Metro. Teclo, I would like to do the International State of the Metro for Laredo. And we can actually talk about,
oh, great, yeah.
And ask your mayor to give a keynote with your involvement and help to provide the same type of support that we gave for San Antonio there in Laredo.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you.
Very good idea.
A presentation by another board member, Peter Grabick, who gave a great presentation on the surprising resilience of U.S. trade during the COVID-19 lockdown. Again, quality programming. And then, you know, when we were in the COVID-19 and we were thinking about what are we going to do to relaunch the thrust of what Global Chamber is in this region, Jorge Canavati came up with a very well attended, and it's online. You can actually see this presentation still, safe air travel between the United States and Mexico. We can make that link available. Just email me at christopher@globalchamber.org, and we can send you the link for that webinar. Again, this is fabulous. Jorge, you have your hand up, and I'm going to let you close.
Thank you, my friend. First of all, I wish to congratulate Teclo on the Ariomar air service now for with Mexico City. I applaud you. That was an important part of the discussion. I'm glad that we were able to bring it up, and I really applaud that. That's a wonderful home run for Laredo. I thank you for that, for all of us. We will do. We can now travel and
Mexico.
Great job. They did a great job with it. Thank you very much. And Crystal, thank you very much. And Chris, appreciate you, and Rodney, include me on this. Jorge, good to meet you virtually anyway. And so I'm very appreciative of all of you for allowing me to come on here. But definitely that flight to Mexico City was kind of the cherry on top for a lot of the things that we've been able to accomplish here lately.
Wonderful. And we will be back again. There's a lot of things, and I want to thank everybody, and I appreciate having me on this wonderful event. Thank you very much, and I hope everyone has a good weekend.
And with that said, we want to thank our attendees as well. Thank you for joining us this morning. And again, thank you very much for participating.
Thank you.
Bye.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Teclo.
You're welcome. Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.